G'day viewers. I think I actually said seeing my recent trip to England was for a funeral. I'd done a bit of ruminating on the thought of death, what I think of death, life, the universe and everything. And I said I'd post it with some pretty scenery. I've been back for a couple of weeks now, so I'm finally getting around to it. The video that I'm talking over is stuff I shot in the village of Colerne, which is where I spent the vast majority of the time while I was in the UK. Now this was for my mother-in-law's funeral, and if you've been paying attention you'd know that late last year my own mother also died, and in the last year two young friends have died as well, one 19 and 123. So, you know, it's not been out of my thoughts for very long in the last year. The concept that our time on this earth is limited and what you should do about that. Now, when I say thinking about death and dealing with death, I don't mean being morose, being maudlin. I don't see the point in that. I'm not a great believer in an afterlife or reincarnation or any of those things that I think are somewhat of an easy out. I prefer to focus on what we have here and now and making the most of that. And that is, I think, the thought that's recurred with me most often in the last year, seeing that sometimes you get a bit of warning that your time's run out. Sometimes, you know, some illnesses you get months, and some you really don't get any at all. So for me, rather than being morose or fearing death or always worrying about what's to come, I'm a big believer in you make the most of what you have, because you really don't know how long you have it. It's not just illness, of course. There's accidents. You might be unfortunate enough to be the victim of violent crime, either from a stranger or someone you know. Hey, am I bumming anyone out yet? Just wondering. It's just, but it really is. I don't dwell on it a lot because I don't think you can function, particularly if there's other people you care about. I would be more worried about the fate of my kids and other people I care about than my own even, although of course my own fate is tied up in theirs. But you can't think, my personal view is you can't spend all day thinking, oh, you know, I could be dead any second, what's going to happen, oh, these people could be dead, oh, I'm so sad, because you would just get really depressed if you thought about it all the time. And that is simply not a good thing. You don't have control over it, and it's really important to face that. You don't control your destiny. You can do everything right, and I think you should try to do everything right. You should try for the best result in everything you do, but you can't control your destiny. There are way too many things in this world that can happen that are way outside your control. So, you know, celebrate what you have. Do the best any opportunity that arises, and I don't think the universe can ask more of you than that. You know, get in there, do it your best. Try not to screw things up for too many other people if you can possibly avoid it. And you know, here's some commentary I did on the inside of the church. This central stone dates from about 1200 AD. It was found on the side of the church, and these very Celtic looking stones set either side commemorate someone who died about 709 AD. Doesn't necessarily mean that's how old they are, but they are pretty old. Nice classical example of stained glass up here too. It's quite cool in here, but there is heating. There's underfloor heating, comes up through these ducts, and It did lead to a little moment in the funeral service when the vicar walked over that and the updraft gave a bit of a Marilyn Monroe moment. I also like this stone that's set in here. It's from 1627, and you can see it's a slightly rudimentary carving, but there's some quite creative spelling. This seems to be more or less the crossover from Old English to Modern English. It's fairly easy to follow, but a couple of the words do require a bit of imagination to decipher. I have to admit, I'm also intrigued by these faces. There's a lot of faces on the walls of the church. I can't help thinking of Harry Potter. I expect them to start talking, which probably a bit frivolous of me, quite honestly. Let's go over here. Oh, you see, the organ pipes, that belts out quite a volume, let me tell you, from personal experience. It's got quite a bit of life in it. There are some more stones. I assume they were probably in the churchyard at some point. They've been brought in. This one from 1767. That one, it's mostly worn, but from 16 something. 1846. Quite a lot. It's quite, to state the obvious, there is quite a lot of history here. And so what year is that? The 3rd year of the reign of our sovereign Lord James II, 1687. There you go. So there's a lot of the stones. Apparently the church was only restored in 1934. Must have been let go for a little while. It's been back as a church since 1934, even though it was built a couple of hundred years ago, and there's clearly been something on the site for a very long time. I have to admit it like this. Richard Walmsley from 1893 is obviously someone quite wealthy, would have paid quite a bit of money to get this in the church. There's another dedication to Richard. There's another Richard Walmsley, not the same one. That's a Richard Walmsley who died in 1893. This would be a descendant, maybe a son, maybe a grandson. Richard Walmsley, who died in Ypres, 1914, the Great War. So, yes, it's a nice little church, a little bit of history all around. Hope you've enjoyed having a look around. There's a kids' corner. And they're also looking for bell ringers. So who says there's no jobs in the world? Going for bell ringers here. I think I'll stick with YouTube. This always fascinates me about churches. You have like nice cherub, really not quite so nice. Just reminding us of death, I suppose.